Hi guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. It's your girl Oluwakemi Adesola. It's nice to be saying that again. That really feels so good. So happy new year, because I'm sure this is the first video that I am dropping this year. So if you're seeing this face for the very first time, please be kind enough to click on that subscribe button. And if you've been riding with me since 2018, I guess, yes, thank you for being on this ride, being on this journey with me. I plan to be a little bit more consistent on here because I've really missed making videos and talking my talk on here on YouTube. So without further ado, what am I talking about today? So growing up, there has been this thing that I've seen it happen, but I never had a name for it. So recently I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw somebody post about it and I was like, oh, so this is what it's called. There's finally a name for it. And I was happy because I wasn't the only person that was thinking that way growing up, or I wasn't the only person that saw or experienced such growing up. Now, what am I talking about? It's something called the parentified daughter. Well, there are parentified sons, but because I'm speaking from my own perspective and I'm a lady, so the parentified daughter, that's what I'm going to stick with today. And this video is going to be a very short one because I'm just sort of creating awareness for whoever comes across this video and they've had these experiences or they've seen these things happen, but they never had a name for it, or it has become a norm. So yes, the parentified daughter. Now, who is a parentified daughter? I'm going to read off Google for you guys. So here goes. A parentified daughter is one who is expected to assume the role of a caregiver or parent, either physically or emotionally, before they are developmentally ready. These children often take on responsibility of adults without receiving proper acknowledgement or support for doing so. This is basically just saying somebody who started acting as an adult, who started taking on the roles of an adult, like what, or for the relative. And usually the first child, the first son or the first daughter are usually the ones that this is affected with. What do I mean? For instance, in my house, I'm the first daughter. And typically, because it has been seen as the norm, I'm expected to look after my younger ones. Even when I am a kid myself, but I'm expected to look after my younger ones. I'm expected to, help them with things they cannot do themselves, when it is actually the parents that is supposed to do it for all of us, because they are our parents at the end of the day and that is their role. But maybe because they've got a job where they've got to stay on for long, so they pass that role on to the oldest child, be it a girl or a boy. Now, because women are naturally more emotional beings, yes, we just take it on ourselves to make sure that our siblings are fine. Now, I'm talking physically, I'm talking emotionally, I'm talking mentally, financially, all the alleys that you can basically think of. When this eldest or oldest kids now grow up to be proper adults, they still carry on that burden. They still feel that need to be parents to kids they did not birth. Here's what I mean. Now, your siblings are dependent on you financially, they're dependent on you physically, they're dependent on you emotionally. It now becomes a case where in your own life, you come last, because before you think about yourself, you have to think about your siblings, and you're now even at that age where you have to parent your parents. So you parent your parent, you parent your siblings, and God help you, you're married, and we live in that world now where men want to be looked after. So you parent your husband, and then you have kids, you parent your kids. Now the burden of all those people are on your shoulder. So before you think about yourself, you have to think about all those people. So in your own life, you come last. Like you're literally the last person you have to consider before you make any decisions or before you do anything, which is totally wrong. Parentified daughters, we tend to live our lives for other people. It's never a case of what do you want. It is usually a case of this thing I want, how is it going to disturb what the other person wants, what your siblings want, what your parents want. And then we usually have this pressure from, the parents that you have to be more, you have to be better, you have to be great so your siblings can look up to you. Whereas sometimes you're just tired. You're just, I get it that your parents also want the best for you, but sometimes that's too much responsibilities to put on a kid, because in cases where the older one have to be the one to clean up after the younger ones, and they just get relaxed, and when they get to ages where they can do it themselves, they just don't bother doing it because somebody has always done it for them. Their older sister or their older brother have always done it for them, which is very wrong. Now I go into households where I see that the older one is the one cleaning after the younger one when they are capable of doing it. Now nobody thinks about what it does, what all those things does to the older sibling. Like when she's helping everybody who helps her, when she's caring for everybody who cares for her, to men that needed me to look after them. I wouldn't get attracted to somebody who would look after me because, growing up, I was the one who looked after people. I was the one who took care of people, who made sure everybody was okay. So I felt like in my relationships that had to continue. I also had to look after men, look after his family, forgetting myself, forgetting that I am also a person with needs and wants. And also, I would put myself last. Whenever I had to do something, I wouldn't do what I want to do. I would do what my parents and siblings wanted me to do. I would consider how my act would affect them more, not thinking that, yeah, this is what I really wanted to do. And in case of friends, I've had friends who studied 2 courses in school because the first one they did was what their parents wanted, while the second one they did was what they wanted. Their parents wanted it because maybe their parents missed the opportunity of, furthering their educations and studying that course in school. So they felt the need to do it, or because their parents somehow convinced them to do it, like their parents lived through them. So they ended up spending that long years in school when they could have actually done what they wanted to, when they could have actually studied what they wanted to study in school and, get a job and move on with their lives. But, and also now, well, not now, before I became this self-aware, I didn't have boundaries. I would let people do whatever they want to do because growing up, people did whatever they want to do. I just had to be there to receive it, to be okay with it. Growing up as a parentified child, I wasn't allowed to complain, if you get what I mean. So being an adult too, before I became aware of this whole thing, I didn't have boundaries. People could do whatever. I wasn't allowed to I believed I was not allowed to complain. So people would really reach. They would really try me. But, and they'd get away with it. Don't try that now. I'm a very different person now because, of course, I'm self-aware. So I didn't come here without what I think is a solution to help people like me, or people who know people like me that are suffering from being a parentified child. Now, the first thing is you have to unlearn and relearn healthy boundaries. So the first thing that helped me was I learned how to say no. Will you do it? No. Will you do it? No. You can do that yourself. That was the very first thing that I learned that really helped me. I also had to let people know that I also have problems of my own. But who is helping me fix it? Nobody. I'm doing it myself. And I know some people, they're like, it's an honor to be a big brother, to be a big sister. But my dear, you're just putting burdens on yourself, because if you do not exist, at the end of the day, those people will be fine. Your parents will be fine. You don't need to have that exaggerated sense of responsibility over things, over people. They will be be fine. So as much as you feel the need to look after others, you also have to look after yourself. Another thing that helped me was that whenever I say no, so the early days of me saying no to things, I would feel guilty. I would cry. I would feel like, oh, I could have actually done this. I could have actually done this. When those things I'm saying I could have actually done was me going extremely out of my way, was me bending backwards to, do those things when I didn't really have to, I would feel so bad. So the second thing you have to do is you have to stop feeling guilty when you start saying no to things. When you stop taking up the parent roles, you have to stop feeling guilty. You have to learn how to stop feeling guilty. And that really takes time, but I promise you, you'll get there. Now, the very first thing, the overall thing is being self-aware. You have to understand what being a parentified child means. You have to accept that it happened to you, and you have to learn about the effects that it had on you. And when that happens, when you've soaked it all in, when you've understood it, when you've seen how it affected you while you were a kid and now that you're an adult, and you accept it, then you can start learning how to say no. You can start learning to stop feeling guilty for saying no. You can start learning how to stop taking up responsibilities that aren't yours. You can start learning how to treat yourself like a human. You can start learning how to, how to create boundaries. You can start learning how to take healthy responsibilities, not just whatever responsibilities parents and siblings throw at you. So yes, self-awareness, that's just the overall big move that you have to make, and you have to understand it, that yes, accept it, yes, it happened, yes, this is what it did to you, and yes, these are the steps you're going to take going forward. So I'm not saying you shouldn't help your siblings. I'm not saying you shouldn't help your parents, because I help my parents, I help my siblings, I help people that I can help. But one thing I've learned is never to bend backwards for people, never to take on roles that are not mine to take, never to feel that exaggerated sense of responsibilities for families. So yeah, if you have any contribution to what I've just said, please feel free to drop it in the comment section. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.